And we're live. Welcome, unbelievers and my friends and everyone else. Today I'm talking with the lovely Miss Shannon Q about her deconversion story. Basically, Shannon, what we do here is I talk to people because I think that these kinds of stories can help people that are, residing on the fence. And just, from where you kind of first started realizing that none of this stuff might actually be true, or some of it might actually not be true, because, we all know there's bits and pieces of historical evidence in some of these things, but and then the pathway that you took to becoming the activist that you are today.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, that's somewhat of a long story, I guess, and it
We've
kind
got
of.
an hour.
Oh, okay, good. So when I was in my 20s, I went through, I guess you could call probably a bit of a rougher patch, and at that time, as you do, I turned to my faith in order to, find answers and direction and solace. And I had realized that up until that point, I'd been very devout. I was an altar girl. I was an Anglican, and I was
Wow.
very active. I was very active in the church. I was the youngest altar person at the church, and I was the youngest person confirmed at the church, and I was the first female altar girl in my church.
Wow.
I was very, very devout, and anyway, so I kind of wanted to reaffirm my faith at that point in time because it was something that I saw as a source of strength. I realized at that time that a lot of what I knew about the Bible, which I saw as, as you do, like a really important pillar of my faith, had been dictated to me. I had read bits and pieces of the Bible. I had passages that I would go back to, if I really felt like, I needed some guidance, but I had never read it start to finish. So
Right.
I did. And it turns out that a lot of the pieces that I enjoyed were sort of, cherry picked and dictated to me. And I had more questions than anybody could conceivably come up with answers for. I turned to the leaders in my church to see if they could reconcile some of the questions that I had to no avail. And wow. I turned to friends and family members to see. I even turned to, like, later on, I even turned to Facebook, and I never had satisfactory answers to the questions that I had.
Right.
I kind of let it lie for a little while. I would have still called myself a Christian, but I was doubting. I had some dissonance regarding it.
Sure.
And I got past that rough patch, and I probably would have still called myself a Christian at that point. But I revisited some of those questions and looked a little bit deeper, into the science of things and the history of things. And the ultimate pivot point for me was having the realization that my conceptualization of morality was, to my mind, superior to that of the God that I saw depicted in the Bible.
Right. Right.
And if I could conceptualize a better moral system or a better way to act morally than God, then that raised some serious questions with me. The passage that ultimately, that the one that I recall as the pivot point for me would be the test of the unfaithful wife in Numbers. That's the one where I essentially kind of threw the book. I was like, are you kidding? Did God just give that woman an involuntary abortion by making her drink dirt water? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, they don't preach that one in the sermons at church. Right?
No, they tend to leave that one out. And
that one's not part of the Bible study. Yeah, the baby's being bashed off the rocks, and those ones get left out. So later on in my life, I'll be 37 in December, so I'm a little older. Later on, and I went through a period where I guess I kind of would have called myself an agnostic.
Mhm.
if you had asked me, but I had some pretty serious pivot points when I came up against people who were, you know, talking about their faith, where I felt like it was difficult for me in those instances to come out without others having a changed perception of
Mhm.
who I was. And that was concerning for me. So I had to do some real digging into what I really believed to make certain that I was on strong footing. So at that point, I turned to reading a lot of different books, and you know, going on YouTube. I spent a lot of time, you know, alone in dark rooms, watching YouTube videos. I started watching, you know, Hitchens debates and Dawkins debates, and you know, the Bill Nye Ken Ham debate. And from there, I found Apologia, and I found Godless Cranium, and I found Cosmic Skeptic, and I started really relating more. So like it kind of reinforced to me that, okay, yeah, you know, this is who I am and this is what I think. Like I'm
Sure.
agreeing with these things, that they're resonating with me. But I was still to the point that I didn't necessarily feel like I was able yet to be out in the open about it. So I had to ask myself some serious questions as to why, you know, I'm not a detriment to anybody. I'm not attempting to stifle anyone from believing what they believe. I just
Sure.
believe something different, and me vocalizing the fact that I believe something different is a direct contradiction to what they believe, and that's seen as opposition, because
Mhm.
it's hard to contend with if you
Yeah,
really want to
it
answer
can.
those serious questions. Um, and just by presenting myself as an atheist, which is what I had determined I was at that point,
Mhm.
I had some fear about how it would be received, and it turns out that those fears were founded. You know, I had some pushback from family members.
Mhm.
I've had people tell me that I was cruel. My
Cruel?
father actually told me that I was cruel. That I
You're,
was cruel.
how did he come up with that?
Um, because speaking about what I believe could potentially rob people of what they believe, and they should just be left alone. Me trying to, he
Okay.
perceived me talking about it as an attempt to take away other people's faith, and it can seem that way, but it's
Sure.
not necessarily true. The only reason I think it seems that way is because having these conversations and having serious rational objections
Mhm.
that need to be considered could lead somebody away, because it's
Sure.
rational to, could lead somebody that otherwise wouldn't be questioning things, because they've never been exposed to a reason to question them,
Right.
and although that's not a combative act in and of itself, because it's simply just, you're just doing what, you know, the faithful do all the time, which is profess to, this is what I believe and this is why I believe it.
Mhm.
Um, but there's a perceptual shift, because people have a certain perception of what an atheist is and who atheists are, and this is going to kind of start to speak towards why I became an activist.
Okay.
um, the perception of what an atheist is and who an atheist are is sort of a condescending, holier than thou, know-it-all, combative, dismissive person that
Mhm.
um, thinks that they know better than you, and makes you feel as though your beliefs are foolish because
Right.
they're smarter and better than you. And that seems to be fairly unilateral overall
I've found
perception.
that. Yeah, they also, a lot of them think of us as somewhat evil too, for whatever reason.
Yeah, reprobates, sort of,
Yeah.
morally reprehensible people. And
Sure.
you know, people who just want to sin and yeah, right, hedonistic, sort of self-serving, selfish. Like it just think about a way to describe somebody that's negative.
Yeah.
and that seems to be the overall general perception. And because of that, and also it mirrors to a certain degree a lot of what I was seeing on YouTube. And like I said, this is going to kind of speak towards why I became an atheist activist. And what I saw on social media was people getting into street brawls over their beliefs, where it was just a competition and posturing over who was smarter than who and who was able to do the better job of making the other person look and or feel stupid. So a lot of the conversations I was watching were frustrating to me because I really wanted to get to the points of the arguments and really carefully assess them. And I didn't have the opportunity to, because either the atheist, the theist, or both were in just a brawl of ideas instead of an exchange of ideas. It was an argument about who was smarter instead of a discussion about why people think the way that they do. And those are the things that really interest me. So my frustration with watching debates and conversations in which I was really, really interested in carefully and critically analyzing the topics and you know, assessing it for myself so that I could ensure that I always want to ensure that I'm on strong footing and critically assess my ideas. I wasn't able to, because it digressed into just, you know, posturing and chest pumping. Yeah, exactly. It was all about emboldening the base of the people that were already on your side. It was all about, you know, going back and high-fiving people because you really owned that Christian. And it wasn't about trying to figure out why they think that the way they do, and ensuring that you can understand that and figuring out why you don't think the same, and helping people who were on the fence. And in these public dialogues, those are the important things to consider. People that are on the fence, people that are watching. I've always said going into dialogues that it's always important that I respect the person that I'm speaking to, and I stay on the topics, and I'm always interested in the conversation. But the conversations that I'm having aren't about me and the person I'm talking to. They're about the people watching. And a lot of those people are people you may never hear of, who will go back and internalize that conversation and really carefully and critically assess the things that they already believe. And they may come to atheism or they may not. They may reaffirm their Christianity, or they may have been an atheist and maybe they'll change their mind. Who knows? But the important thing is to ensure that you're approaching these dialogues in as respectful and honest a manner as possible. And I wanted to kind of throw my hat in that ring to see if I could.
We're talking about the fedora, right?
Yes, I wanted to throw my fedora into that ring. Right, exactly. So it was kind of twofold. I wanted to be in those conversations, because there are sometimes questions that weren't asked that I wish that I could. So I wanted to be able to have those conversations myself. I wanted to model respectful dialogue. I wanted to model the fact that you can ask complex and difficult questions in a respectful manner. It's not just about owning the person you're talking to. It's about critically analyzing the ideas. And I also wanted to instantiate a model of somebody who is an atheist, but flies in the face and is diametrically opposed to that conceptualization bias that people have when they manifest an atheist in their mind. So if you're a Christian and you're watching my channel or watching me in conversations, I don't want to fit your stereotype and reinforce that ideal, or you're never going to listen to what I have to say because you already have walls up, because you think to yourself, that's not the type of person I want to talk to. And she represents what everybody tells me the typical atheist is like.
Right.
So immediately that ideal is reinforced. And when that ideal is reinforced, you're not able to get past it because you're just proving everybody right. And I want to prove everybody wrong. I want to show them that we're walking around. A lot of us aren't, we're walking around in normal. We're amongst you.
Yeah.
But a lot of us won't adopt the moniker because we're afraid. We're afraid of what that might mean. And the more of us who are, you know, just level and normal and want to have these conversations that step forward and proudly own it, the easier it will be for the rest of us to come out because they'll have somebody else to point to and say, you know, you see, it's not what you think.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's why I do these too. So hopefully that helps.
Good. Yeah,
Shatter the image, right?
Good.
Shatter
I'm
the
sure
image.
it does.
Because I think, the people that I've met so far, including yourself, well, now we've officially met face to face.
Yes, that's right.
I think we're great people. I think we do good. I think we're decent citizens, really, for the most part. I mean, nobody's perfect, obviously, but and I think that's more the image that we need to share about who we actually are. We're not the stereotypes that you've been told in church.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, or on social media. I mean, like if you're on social media and you're engaging in those battles, then you're going to encounter, you know, a certain type of person, and the person that you're going to encounter is the person that seeks out those battles. So it's not necessarily representative. So not necessarily, it isn't representative of a group of people as a whole. It's representative of the type of people that are attracted to those sort of arguments and debates. And a lot of us, when we come out too, I mean, I think a lot of us probably, you know, you go through a phase when you first come out where you're just kind of like, you're a little mad. You're a little mad. You're a little like, wow, I've been fooled for a long time. And I believed it. I really thought this was true. Like, I really believed it. I defended it. And now I feel a bit foolish. So you kind of want to go out and just, you know, you might be looking for a fight.
Take a bat with you, start swinging it everywhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we all go through that. Not everybody, nor should they have to, does the best job of constraining themselves in those situations. And I don't always do the best job of constraining myself in situations. I mean, I try, but I certainly don't.
Sometimes I pop too.
People assholes. I've done some yelling.
Generally, I think we do it when they deserve it, anyways. So
yeah, it takes a bit to push me. But yeah, I mean, we all do those things, I think, sometimes. But I mean, yeah, it's good to try and say, hey, look, we're just like you. We're just like you. We literally just answered no to one question that you answered yes to.
Right.
And not even necessarily no. It's just a lot of it's just, you know, probably not. Right? Some people.
I'm not convinced is more, I think.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
The standpoint is.
I don't believe that that's true.
Yeah.
And you say, yes, I do believe that that's true. And that, in many instances, that's the only fundamental difference between the two of us. And a lot of the rest of that division is artificially created so that people can cause a divide.
Yeah, I agree, for sure.
And, you know, for whatever purposes they feel they need to do that, I don't want to contribute to it. I would rather just be myself in all situations and ask honest questions that I legitimately want to try to discover the answers to. Oh, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, sorry, I got the Jetsons ringtone.
That's awesome.
My inner child screams out all the time every time I download ringtones.
Yeah. So I feel like that's the crux of my story. My deconversion story isn't that abrupt. It took place slowly. It was a slow burn over the course of many, many years. It was just questions that kind of niggled at me until eventually I got the wherewithal to finally be like, okay, I've got to resolve this. If I want to figure out what I'm gonna do and what I'm gonna be and who I really am, you know, what side of this fence I fall on. I don't want to be uncomfortable in conversations anymore because I have questions that I don't want to bring up because they derail these conversations. So I started looking for myself, and I did everything I could to do the best source methodology that I could, you know, and I still have questions nobody can answer. Like maybe one day somebody will be able to answer these questions, but as of yet, no, nobody has. So I can't. And I wanted to. Holy smokes, I did. I feel like deconversions, I describe my deconversion as involuntary. It was involuntary. Yeah, it was involuntary. I wanted to still be a Christian. Are you kidding? Of course I did.
Sure, with the comfort, everything that's involved with that.
Comfort, right? The family, like the not having people, you know, antagonizing me, criticizing me, judging me, like to just be able to be it and go along with, you know, like the brunt of society. Like nobody, or I can't say nobody, but it would have been so much easier for me to just stay Christian. You know, I wouldn't have had any issues with my family. If those conversations would never have been uncomfortable. But I had questions that couldn't be answered, and the more questions that I did get answered, the more they fell on the opposite side of the fence. And the other and I just couldn't. It would have been intellectually dishonest for me to say that I continued to believe, even though I really, really wanted to. I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? As much as I want to say yes, I have to say no. I just have to at this point. And it was, you know, it was a slow burn. I couldn't tell you the exact day, couldn't tell you the exact time. But yeah, I can tell you.
Was it more like you just kind of one day you were just like, you know what, I really am just an atheist now. Like rather than this was the moment I became one, you just kind of one day realized that was the way you were thinking now.
I wouldn't say that I had, you know, an epiphany that was in a moment.
Okay.
It was a couple of years ago that I would have called myself an agnostic for a while. I would have said something in the lines, if you asked me what I believed, I would have said, you know, I'm an agnostic. My position is essentially, you know, I don't know enough about all the religions in the world to say that any of them are false. So, you know, who knows? Like something wishy-washy like that is what I would have said for a really, really long time until I started kind of like delving deep. It was in my early 30s, shortly after I had my son. And who knows, perhaps, you know, me having my son and figuring out how I wanted to raise him and what I wanted to do may have factored into it more than I realized.
That could be, yeah.
Could be, yeah. You ask yourself a lot more questions and conduct yourself differently once you have a kid without even, I don't think, realizing that you do. You think about things in a completely different perspective because the things you do affect more than just you for the first time in your life.
Almost like its own little epiphany in its sorts.
Oh yeah, it's quite the epiphany. Having your first kid's quite the epiphany. I remember going home and going, I can't believe they let me take him. I can't believe they let me take this human home with me. What were they thinking? I don't know. I'm like, what did they do? Why did they let me have this kid? I put my glasses in the refrigerator. They gave me a human. I don't even know where my phone is right now.
Well, if you need one, you can borrow mine.
Yeah, thanks. I can't remember the last time I ate. You gave me a tiny person to keep alive. Yeah, so yeah. It gives you a lot of perspective.
Well, yeah, I bet.
And a lot of those first years are a haze because my son was quite ill. But it was around that time during those first couple of years of life that just. And, you know, I had a lot more time by myself, too. Like, while I was on maternity leave, I was finishing off school at that point in time. I was finishing off my degree. And I had a lot of time that was more solitary than it had ever been previously in my life. Because, you know, I wasn't out running around, you know, hanging out with people. I was either at school, working, or I was home with my son. And when I was home with my son, I would read a lot. And that's kind of when I discovered YouTube, I guess. It was around that time I would, I'd be up breastfeeding in the middle of the night and need something to listen to. And I've never been, I'm the type of person, I don't have cable. I don't own a microwave. I'm a weird hippie that doesn't believe in mindless entertainment. I don't like to fill my time with things just to, just for the sake of filling time.
Hello, Doctor Who.
Yes. Doctor Who's not mindless, though.
No. Okay. That's a valid point.
Doctor Who and Star Trek are the exception for me.
Yeah.
And oddly, weirdly, I kind of like the show Big Brother. Those are probably the 3 shows that I really like, because it's the psychologist in me, though, because it's like a microcosm. It's like a social experiment that you get to watch. I think that's what I like, because you're locking all these people in a house and watching them undermine each other. I kind of like that show.
But is that really reality that we're seeing, or are they hamming it up?
Oh, there's an observer bias. There's something called observer bias in psychology. So
okay, yeah.
Yeah. So you're being watched at all points in time. You also have the future projection that what you're doing here may affect your real life, or may also potentially bring you fame, and you have an end goal where you're trying to win money. So you're ultimately out to manipulate each other while still preserving your integrity enough that you're going to be able to live your real life outside of that situation, while simultaneously hoping that it'll bring you some sort of fame, potentially. So I enjoy watching all of that play out in people's minds. It's a psychology.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, oh for sure. I realize what you're going to say there, but for me, it's like a train wreck. Once in a while, I gotta tune it, because you can't not look, right. You kind of just If I happen to flip past, then let's see what's going on here.
I haven't watched it for a long time, though. When I was married,
either.
I had cable when I was married, so I watched it then. That was one of the only actual television shows I would watch. Was Big Brother. A lot of the time I filled my time with other things, but I was pretty dedicated to watching Big Brother. The only reason we had cable was because my ex-husband was absolutely obsessed with hockey, and he's an Ottawa Senators fan.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, and so he needed to watch all the Sens games, and we couldn't get those online. You had to have Sens TV, so we had cable just to get the Ottawa Senators games. Like literally, that was pretty much the only reason we had cable. Now I don't have cable. I've been divorced for a while, and I don't have cable at all. I just don't.
You don't even need it these days. Anything you want to watch, you can find it online.
Until I tried to find Doctor Who yesterday, I was having a nightmare because, my laptop died.
Right.
And I had to rebuild this computer. This computer's from 2008. And I had to take it and strip it down to nothing and reinstall everything and entirely rebuild it. And I'm really not willing to install a torrent site on it, because it's the only computer I have, and I need to be able to, do things like this and post YouTube videos, and I'm not willing to jeopardize it. Yeah, so I wouldn't put the torrent site. I wouldn't put uTorrent on it. So I couldn't find Doctor Who, but I got it. A friend of mine gave it to me. I won't say it because I won't get through. But I got it. I got it eventually.
If you're ever missing one, I always have one on my
computer. Do you? I may hit you up.
Because and I could just send it through Dropbox or something for you.
That's what happened to me yesterday. Somebody sent it to me.
There you go.
Through Dropbox.
So you got to see episode 2 then.
I did, yes.
Isn't she unbelievable? Like, she encapsulates that role like to a T. She's got little bits of all of them.
She's got a lot of tenants. Like, she's got a lot of tenants. She's got a lot of tenant, a touch of Smith, less of Capaldi, which I'm fine with.
I didn't mind Capaldi.
She does have a bit of Eccleston in her too. Like, you can tell that she really watched the doctors going in like that. Like her mannerisms, like, yeah. I am very pleased with her. I'm pleased with her overall. But I mean, it's only 2 episodes in. I remember when Eccleston, when he regenerated, at first I was mad at Tennant. I did not want anything to do with him. I was pissed. And now he's my doctor. Like, Tennant is my doctor. Like the whole Bad Wolf saga. Like, oh my God. Him and Rose. I don't want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great
Shannon's
storyline.
Yes. God damn it. Anyway, sorry. That's not about deconversion. That's about. Hey,
That's
wait.
okay. It happens all the time during.
Listen. My pen.
Is it? Oh
Yeah.
my God! Where did you get that? Just
I
online?
got BBC.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
This is my Dalek Cyberman pen.
Hang on, I
I'm a
got something to
nerd.
show you. One of my favorite.
Show each other
TVs.
Doctor Who stuff because I've got more. I don't know how much of it's within our reach.
This has got to be one of the funniest things ever.
Oh my no. No. You know what's funny? You know what else I have sitting on my desk?
Oh no!
It's a tricorder.
It is on.
The rest of my stuff's in my room. This isn't fair. It's all my desk in my office.
My kingdom.
Oh,
yeah, I've got the next generation tricorder over there, and the phaser, and of course the uniform in the closet. So
you have I have the data the transporter. Do you remember the next generation transporter? It was like a big cylinder, and you put
and spin them, right?
Yeah, I have that. I actually have a full schematic of NCC 1701D, like full blueprint schematic.
Wow. Is it the one with the lights that blink?
No. It's like it's a rollout actual it's a Starfleet blueprint. Like it's from one of the shows. It's so freaking cool. Yeah.
I had a box of blueprints like that I had for the longest time, and I had a few different ships in it. And I gave it to a buddy of mine for his birthday because he was a huge Trekkie, right? But I have this here, which is the complete.
Oh, nice.
It's a whole bunch of stuff, right? It talks about all the collectibles and stuff.
That is so cool.
You can buy, which is really neat. My mom got it for me, and I'm like, 50% off. That's not surprising, Mom.
Did you? I spent a lot of time when I was little teaching myself how to
doing this.
Yeah. I spent so much time holding my fingers together so I could do it.
Yeah, I had to too, and I'm teaching my nephew to do it now, but he keeps doing this. I'm like, no,
no, man.
You're getting that backwards. What's going on?
I remember trying to mind meld with my friend when I was little.
That's
my
awesome.
mind to your mind.
Yeah, you would grab them by the head. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just making myself one with you so I can understand your thoughts. Can't really do it this way because you got to put your finger here. I'm such a nerd. Oh my God, I'm such a nerd. I'm sorry.
Don't be, because I'm on equal footing with you there. I always thought, if I was to ever to believe in some kind of a god, I'd want him to be like John Delancey as Q.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right?
Well, yes, he's so mischievous.
Well, yes and no, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more
yes
like Loki,
no.
really.
I would want to be Picard in that situation. Like Q and Picard's relationship was one of the most fascinating television relationships, I think, in history. And the Q storylines were the best. I mean, well, just like Farpoint Station, like that, like all of the Q storylines were the most morally interesting storylines. Like they were the storylines where you really had to kind of grapple with, it faced you with humanity in a really strong way, the Q storylines.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it did, for sure.
Poor Tasha. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Poor
That's too bad.
Worst death in Star Trek history.
Yeah.
Really, like a tar monster. Head of security gets killed by a tar monster.
Yeah, I know. All me and my buddies, we were laughing at the whole concept of it, but we're like, well, what do you do? It's TV, right?
Oh yeah, no. But the Tasha and Data thing, I would have loved to see what more Tasha and Data needed to happen.
Oh, you mean when the Space Seed episode or whatever?
Yes, the one where everybody. Yes.
Yeah. It's getting all flustered.
Which was a mirror. That was like an homage back to the original series. Like, do you remember when Sulu came out?
The original one was. Yes. Yes.
Killer with like no shirt on. George Takei came out with all the swords.
I think that was the one called Space Seed, and then they named it a little bit differently in the Next Generation one.
But it was the same virus that hit the ship. We're doing a really great job about talking about atheism and deconversion.
You know what? Most of my every time I have one of these conversations, something else always pops up and we go off a little bit. And I look at it as just a little bit of getting to know someone a little bit better. So that's all it is, really. So, and it is part of who we are. We are atheists and we love Star Trek. We can't help it, right?
Yeah, that's right. Screw Star Wars, though. Do you hear me, Paul? Are you watching, Paul? Screw Star Wars.
I don't know. Is Paul watching? I don't know
if he is. I can't see the chat.
Everyone in my chat's got wrenches. Mrs. Snarky calls me the Oprah of wrenches. Look under your seat. You got a wrench, and you get a wrench. Now I can't tell anyone apart anymore. I don't see anything. My usual suspects are hanging out though. Shane's amazing. Shane's like everywhere.
No, I love Shane.
He's the first one. He's like, "Hello, humans," every time.
Yeah.
He's like, I call him the live stream furniture now. He's like the footstool. Everyone can put their foot up on him. Yeah. Paul's there.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul. If you're watching, Paul, I would like to have you on and do one of these conversations at some time.
Oh, he's the worst.
If you're up for it.
Talk to him. He's a nightmare. He's the nicest human in the world.
I can imagine. It's just from what I've seen of him, and I've seen nearly almost, I'd say over 90% of his content. It's always enjoyable. And he's my next consideration for Patreon, to be honest.
Ooh, I can tell you something about Paul that might throw you over the edge. For the record, I don't see any of his patron stuff. It all goes pretty much back to the channel. He spends almost all of his free time working on the channel. He puts the amount of research that goes into him making a video is ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Like it's insane because I help him with some of the research, and me helping him is like finding things, proofread. Oh goodness, sorry, I'm making my own noises. Sorry, I pressed play on this. He spends hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and after researching, he has to go. If he has a guest, the time he spends sound editing is insane, just bananas. Then he has to record his portion and then do all the sound editing for that. And then because everything is animated, he hand animates every guest.
Oh, you're kidding.
He draws them on paper. He hand animates every single guest. He draws them on a piece of paper. Is he in there freaking out?
No. He hasn't said anything. But everyone's telling me I should give Paul a wrench.
Don't give him a wrench. No, screw him. He needs to be taken down a peg, if I'm honest. No. No.
You know what? Yeah, he's earned every subscriber that he's got. He's earned.
I don't understand why he doesn't have so many more. Like he animates everything, and then he spends, after he's done doing all of the sound editing his guest, animating everything, doing all the scripting, doing all the research, doing all the rigging, then he goes through and does all of the B-roll. Like start to finish, each of his videos is easy, no joke, probably 60 to 70 hours of work. No joke. No joke.
Wow. That is dedication.
But the Justabytes take a little bit less because he wants to make sure that everything in it is meticulous, and he puts all of his scientific ones, anything that's green is science on his channel because there's a color code on his channel. Anything that's green is a science claim. Any of the scientific videos, he puts them through peer review. He reaches out to scientists that are in relevant fields, gets them to read his scripts to make sure that he's not giving anybody any misinformation based on the research that he did.
That's a fantastic idea, actually. That's admirable.
So that he can make, because he wants to make sure that any Christians that are listening to it that might be on the fence don't have any reason to think that he's selling them a bill of goods. He takes it seriously. Seriously. He doesn't care if he ever makes a cent. He just throws himself at it because it means something important to him. And that's one of the reasons I love him so much, is because it just is it's a painful work of passion for him, and he takes it more seriously than I think I've ever seen anybody take this platform. He throws everything into it all the time, at the detriment to himself on a lot of occasions. So if you are considering, I endorse you. I mean, there's other fabulous creators that deserve support too, but I mean, I see firsthand what Paul does.
So yeah, so you know that it's worthwhile.
Oh, worthwhile! Holy smokes!
That's an understatement.
Understatement, yeah.
Well, by the sounds of it, he's very committed to a solid program. So that's definitely I think you've probably swayed my decision as you told me about this.
Good. Yeah. No, don't support me. Support him.
I've got quite a few that I support. I'm the guy that does like the $5 a month thing.
Oh, right? That's a huge amount. Like I've only got 10 patrons. Like
really?
Yeah. I only make about $30-something a video.
Well, and how much does Patreon keep? I never know.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I know that it gets deposited into PayPal. I've got 10 patrons. A couple of them are $1. Most of them are $5 to $1, and I get around $30-ish a video. And I only charge people for the edited videos. Like my live streams, I don't charge people for the live streams. Those are free. I feel like patrons should only be charged for videos that are edited in full. But yeah, so, and people tell me I make money, and I'm like, what? I don't. They're like, well, how much is in your laptop fund? And I'm like, $360.
I don't think they really get it.
Like, I don't think you realize how little money we actually make.
Oh, I know. My other channel, the gaming one that I've had for years, I was making, I was a partner, and I was making probably off the ad revenue, I think I was pulling in maybe $35 a year off of that shit. So, yeah, it was like meager. And they're like, you're living off your YouTube. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Oh,
in a box in a back alley. Yeah, that's where I'm living.
Like YouTube, for example, I got monetized in the end of August. So the end of August, I was all excited. I got monetized. So since the end of August, they'll only pay you out if you hit $100. So since like mid-August, let's say, including super chats and all of my ad revenue, I am at about $87 in mid-October. So I'm not even to the point where they'll even send me a check.
Yeah, it's different. It was different back in the day when I was doing it on my gaming channel. They would, I think you only had to do so much, and then they would just send you the overages or whatever it was. I can't remember.
Yeah, now I think they'll only send it to you if you hit 100.
Yeah. And that's monthly though, right?
Oh gosh, I don't know. They've never sent me any money, so I don't know how it works. If you have to make $100 a month, I am screwed. I will never see it because I clearly make about 25, maybe 30.
That's why Patreon. I think that's why Patreon is more important.
Oh, it's so helpful. Like, I got myself a green screen and some lights, which I think is gonna, since I made my last video. So I used some of the patron money that I had to do that. So that cost me about $100. So I took some out of the patron, or I would have had $460 in my laptop. But so I bought that so that to help the quality of the videos, to hope to kind of maybe attract more people to the channel. But I think that's what you need to do. You just need to keep recycling it into the channel. That's the way I look at it, because people are paying to see the videos. They're not paying to give me money. So the money that I have, I either want to bank to get a laptop so that they'll be better. Hopefully, maybe I can bank enough to fly myself to Faithless Forum, to potentially speak at Faithless Forum next year, because that's going to be like $1,000 to fly from Nova Scotia to Dallas, and to get like equipment and lighting and cameras and my Yeti and microphone, like all of that stuff costs money, but everything that I can recycle into the channel, that's what I'm trying to do. And the next thing I think I might do is, if I get enough, is to get Streamlabs so that my live streams can be a little bit more fancy looking.
Yeah.
Although my experience on Heathen Hour, me and Godless Cranium, me and Mike spent, I don't know, about 45 minutes just screaming at each other and swearing, trying to get Streamlabs to do anything at all because it's an infuriating program. But it's working now. So if you want to watch Heathen Hour, we have a fantastic template. Dear Mr. Atheist made the template for us because Jimmy's a fantastic human person.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recently spoke with Mike too. We're doing one of these, so
he's good people, but he's also a smart ass.
He is, and that's one of the things I actually enjoy about him.
Yes, yeah, me too.
And the fact
feel
that
like
he's using my music, which is phenomenal.
Yes, that's so cool, and it's great too.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, thank you. Yeah, when he told me he wanted to do it, I was like, really? Please do. I'm like, wow, somebody actually appreciates what I'm doing. That's great.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. He's like the brother I never knew I had and still don't really want.
Except for those times when you do. That's the way my sister describes me.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes I do.
Yeah.
Most time we just annoy each other for fun. And it didn't both of us, so it works.
You guys put on a really good show on that Heathen Hour, by the way.
Oh, do you like it?
A few of them. Yeah, I've seen a few.
Oh, cool.
And I really like it. I was like, hey, you ever want me on? Just ask. And he's like, we'll see. We'll see. I'm like, I know. I'm still kind of a nobody in this field, but
I was a nobody. Holy smokes. I walked it I've only been I've only had a channel since May. Really, just keep plugging away.
Yeah, but you know what? Your channel right off the hop looked professional.
Paul.
About the purple and it's all Paul. Nice job, Paul.
All Paul. All Paul. He edits all my videos too. Honestly,
oh, really?
Mm-hmm. He takes my videos and puts them through filters and and crops them. He does the intros and the outros on my videos. Wow. He made those because part of the reason I was like, I'm not going to make a video. I have no idea how to edit a video. His video editing is so complex that editing my video he can literally do in his sleep. It's just a matter of plugging it together. I tried and I sent him tests and he was just like, just please send me the video and I'll just
That's really cool. Paul, do you even sleep or are you just constantly doing videos? Or
he does not sleep. Well, to be fair though, I put out maybe 2 videos a month. So to be fair, it's not, and they're only about 7 to 10 minutes long.
Yeah, but when you speak, you're quite insightful about the topics you're talking about. So,
thank you. I appreciate that because I do a lot of research.
Yeah, it shows because once you start watching, you get into what you're talking about, and it's kind of hard to want to click away. So I always watch them from start to finish.
Oh, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed them. I've had some feedback that perhaps I'm a bit too verbose in my videos. But I find it difficult. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that because I find it difficult not to be because in order to make them as condensed and concise as possible, sometimes I need to, articulate things very concisely. And that means that I need to find the right word, and the right word isn't always an easily accessible word.
True.
So yeah, and I work very hard. I spend a lot of time scripting. Sometimes it takes me a couple weeks to do a video, and it's not because I don't want to do a video. I spend a lot of my time going on other people's channels to show support and doing collaborations.
Which I appreciate too, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm not even present company accepted too. But it's just that's what means a lot to me. I don't do it. Any of us who do it for the money are ridiculous for starters.
Because there really isn't any people.
If there is, I don't know how you make it, but maybe I'm just bad at it. But I do it because it means something to me. It means something to me. Supporting a community, finding a community, and helping other people unite with a community that they maybe didn't even realize was around, but they needed.
Yes.
Those are important things. Connecting people together and allowing them access to information and insightful people is a really important thing. So
agreed. My
channel is a part of doing that, but it's not the only part of me doing that. And it's really important for me to go extend myself elsewhere if people perceive it as being helpful, because that's that's what I want. I just want to contribute and be helpful if I can. And if that means that I'm not going to spend the time making sure that my individual channel is a huge success, then, you know, whatever. I've got a job and, you know, I'll survive. I mean, I'm a single mom. I'm not rolling around in money or anything, but I'm okay. And this is important to me for reasons that aren't monetary.
Yeah, I agreed. Me too.
Yeah.
It's about, I think there's many of us that have a voice that should be heard on topics like this. So the more of us that are doing these sorts of things, the better off we'll be in the end, because it will eventually unleash, or not unleash, but expose who we actually really are, instead of the lies that a lot of people are told in their circles within the religious community about who we are. So that's why I try to have as many conversations like this as possible. So I wanted to touch a little bit before we close out the conversation. I wanted to touch a little bit like your family's reaction and friends' reaction. Did you actually like lose people because of your deconversion, so to speak?
Well, no, I didn't.
No?
I didn't. There's relationships that were damaged and are still damaged. But I didn't lose to anybody. My mother's incredibly supportive, even though she's very religious. My mom grew up in Puerto Rico, and she went to a Wesleyan academy and then a Catholic school.
Okay.
And very religious. My grandmother is very religious. She's passed away now. Family's very religious.
I'm sorry.
My parents are divorced, my father and my stepmother. My father's not particularly religious. My stepmother is incredibly religious.
Wow.
And sometimes makes, you know, passive aggressive comments to me about things like, oh, she thinks, you know, we come from monks.
I get that too.
Yeah. Why are there still apes type of comments, right? So legitimately happens in my life. And like at one point in time we were out together, and my son said something along the lines of, you know, fish came before people, Mom. And I said, yeah, buddy, you're right. And she was like, yeah, well, some of us in this room might not believe that. And I said, well, some of us in this room haven't read the Bible then, because even in there, the fish came before the goddamn people.
That's true too. Yeah. They created all those guys and then us.
Yes.
I love how the sun was created after the plants, you know. I guess photosynthesis happened a little later.
It's the thing. Do you ever find it frustrating that, especially in less so online, because a lot of the people that are apologists online are at least, you know, somewhat versed in the Bible. In my real life, I think one of the things that's frustrating to me is that the people that come at me about it, I know more of the Bible than they do. I've spent more time with it, analyzing it, being, you know, critical of it, trying to figure out how I can still believe in it. Like I've spent, you know, hours over a passage, looking back and forth through pages to try to figure out where later on it contradicts it enough in just the right way that it says that I don't have to, you know, keep it in my mind.
Right.
And these people are me years before I read it. They're me where I've had it dictated to me and believed it and know what it means because it was dictated to me. And I just, you know, I have trust in that. And that ideal of it is so strong that I felt the necessity to defend it. Luckily for me, I took the path defending it that led me away from it, because I was like, if I want to, you know, defend it to myself and other people, I need to really know what it says. Mm-hmm. And really knowing what it says, it's really, really, really hard to deal with. Because it says some shit.
Shit's being kind in some situations.
It says some just messed the hell up shit. And a lot of the people in your real life, maybe you find the same thing. The people that are just the most ardent defenders or critics of you because they find out that you're an atheist. Really, I've never looked at it at all. They just have that ideal of it that means so much to them without even really fucking opening the pages.
Yeah. Well, I got my buddy's girlfriend. She's got one always there on the ready, but I don't think she's actually read it from cover to cover, because I'll say something and she'll grab it and she'll look for something that might contradict what I just said. So Yeah, she stopped drinking because of me, I think, because we were having conversations that were driving her up the wall. Which seems like a reversal thing, right? Like you think someone would start drinking after something like this, but no. She said, I can't have conversations with you properly because I'm too drunk all the time. Maybe you shouldn't.
Maybe you should be drunk all the time.
Yeah. So I think I encouraged her to quit drinking. And she says now she's 97 days clean.
Oh, wow. Good for her. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I say with like a cooler literally sitting in front of me.
I know. I don't have any. Normally I've got beer going for these, but unfortunately today I'm drinking water. But, you know.
Oh, well, that's what I usually have, either water or Diet Coke or Sprite or lemonade. But as we talked about before, I had a messed up day, so I decided to have a cooler.
However, today's the day when this is legal in Canada. So we all know what I'm going to do soon.
Yeah. I actually meant to drive by the liquor store today in Dartmouth just to see what it looked like. Because I don't know what it's like in BC, but in Nova Scotia, it's the Liquor Commission that's selling, right?
They're doing it here too.
Right.
So they're not open yet. That's all.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh, so they're open at the Liquor Commission today. So you can go into the cannabis section at the NSLC, the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission. That's the only place around here you can buy booze too. We don't have any privatized booze here. I know they do in Alberta. Maybe they do in BC. Yeah, it's only the NSLC. That's the only place you can buy. I know it floored me when I went to Alberta and I was like, you can just buy booze forever?
Yeah, they got it in 7-Eleven down
like
there.
Shangri-La, for God's sake. Like, you can just walk in the mall and buy booze? This is insane. So I was going to go
Still not enough. Still not enough to make me want to be an American.
No,
sorry.
That's fair.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. So I was gonna drive by the NSLC today because there's only a few of them that have the dispensary set up inside. And the one in Dartmouth near my office where I work had one set up. I don't smoke, but I kind of wanted to drive by just to even fucking see what it looked like today, just to see if there was a lineup. Because I'm willing to bet there was. Like, I'm going to look it up later online. I'm going to look up the local news to see if they have anything about it, because I'm certain there was a lineup, because I had people all worked up talking about it, because there's only certain places, only certain NSLCs have them. Like, I've got an NSLC down the road, like a decent sized one. There's nothing in there. There's only, I think, 5 right now.
I think they'll come in time. Because, I don't think it's not like they didn't have enough time to get ready, but I think some places just, it wasn't in their budget, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, and Nova Scotia, in response to it, they banned smoking everywhere outside in Halifax, which is a big city. People don't realize Halifax is a big city, but it's a big city.
I've been there.
Oh, okay, there you go. So, it's not, I mean, it's not big, like, it's not like Toronto, but it's a big city end to end. Like there's a lot of exterior suburbs too. In all of the HRM, which is a massive county, smoking is now banned outside. You cannot smoke outside unless you are on private property, with the exception of certain designated areas. And that was a response to the legalization. That's what our city council did as a response to legalization, because they didn't want people walking down the street smoking a joint, because they couldn't say you could, because joints are legal and smoking is legal now. They couldn't say you can't smoke a joint, but you can smoke a cigarette. So they banned it all in public, all of it. $2,000 fine
if you get caught.
If you get caught,
that's the key.
If you get caught, that's the key. That's the key. We'll see how long that lasts before there's a coup.
Right.
Because this is Nova Scotia, man. But like we love to drink and we love to smoke. Like,
BC is the home of BC Bud, obviously. But,
yeah.
I think it's usually us or Australia that are constantly winning the Cannabis Cup. So
yeah. So it's a big day in BC. Everybody's stoned there today, probably. Everybody's just like breathing a big sigh.
My window's open right now, and I'm pretty sure the aroma of skunk weed is coming in right now as we're talking.
You don't even need to smoke that.
I've got contact high. So, well, Shannon, I've had a great time talking with you.
Thank you.
We are on the hour. Thank you so much for doing this for me, or with me on my channel. And I hope that conversations like this, as I said before, help others that might be on the fence. And maybe sometime we'll get together and collab on something else at some point.
Keep in touch.
I shall. And everyone, I'm going to do an after party. Shannon does have other commitments. If she does have a little bit of time, she might pop in for 5-10 minutes just to say hello. So anyone who is interested I've set up my Neil's Usual Suspects chat in Twitter, and I'll put the link there. If you'd like to join me in the after party, you're more than welcome to, as always. Once again, Shannon, thank you so much. And everyone, subscribe to Shannon. She's got great content. She's a great thinker, and the way she talks is fantastic and easy to understand and comprehend. A lot of times, some people in this genre aren't so easy to understand because, not everyone's a psychologist, right? So, yeah, well, some of us like to think we are, but
that's right. We're all scientists and psychologists. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, all of us atheists. We got all the degrees. That's why I love that caps lock Christ guy. He tells everyone he's got 17 degrees. That guy just cracks me. He's promised he's going to come and do one of these one day too.
I would love to watch that. That would be. I feel like he'd be hysterical. Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. And he's a Scotch drinker like me, so.
Oh, good.
Which is awesome. So this should be an interesting one because I'll have a bottle of Scotch going for that one for sure.
Cool.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in and watching, and thanks, Paul. I think this is the first video of mine you've ever seen, or the first time you've even ever heard of me.
No.
Anyways, it's all right. I was hiding in the cracks up until this point, so it doesn't matter. But just know, Paul, that I was a subscriber to your channel, or still am. Sorry, and have seen many of your videos and very much enjoy them. And now I know why I enjoy them, because of the amount of work that you put into them. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. It's been an hour, a little over actually, which is not uncommon. Shannon, I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And if you do decide you want to jump in for a few minutes, we will be there hanging out. I probably won't start it up for about 10 minutes from now, because I usually go grab a fresh cup of water, have a cigarette or whatever, or, a cigarette. And then we'll see what happens. All right, guys, you know the drill. And thanks everyone again for tuning in. And as I always say before I end these, remember, guys, it's called faith because it's not knowledge.